Welcome to Jersey Reads the Classics, an audiobook podcast delving into the finest works of our literary masters. Unfortunately, it's read by this woman.
What the hell? Who cares? Let's go on an adventure. Hello, and welcome back to Jersey Reads the Classics with your host, Rosie DeCandia. So nice to have you back where you belong, my friends. As you all know, or one of you that's watching the video, besides myself, we are done with Peter Pan. Yes, Peter Pan, that harrowing dark tale, making us question so many aspects of ourselves, and also making me fall in love with Captain Hook. I still can't get over that, but I digress. Point is this, we must move on like everything else in life, right? It's a new chapter. You see what I did there? So let's move on to a new book. So the book I've chosen, I've decided to stay in a children's book genre because I feel that right now during these tumultuous times, we want to keep it light and fluffy. Yet it's not so light and fluffy because there is a lot of inspirational food for us to chew on and to really ingest. So I think that's important. Obviously, that's why I'm doing this. So without any further ado, Rosie DeCandia, give me a drum roll, please. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. I have seen this movie, and I'm sure you all have seen it too, like at least 100 times. It was the staple of my childhood, staple of most of my adulthood. At least once a year, you gotta see the damn movie. And I own Dorothy shoes. I'm not gonna lie, I do. Maybe at some point, I'll show you the Dorothy shoes. But this book is very short, and obviously it's not a musical, hello. But in my own way, you never know with my singing Tourette's, it might become a musical. But I wanted to read it because I feel like there might be so many messages. Not might be. There's going to be a lot of messages in this book. So without any further ado, I know I got to stop babbling. We are going to start with The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. And we're going to start with Chapter 1, The Cyclone. Dorothy lived in the midst of the great Kansas prairies with Uncle Henry, who was a farmer, and Aunt Em, who was the farmer's wife. Their house was small, for the lumber to build it had to be carried by wagon many miles. There were 4 walls, a floor, and a roof, which made one room. And this room contained a rusty-looking cook stove, a cupboard for the dishes, a table, 3 or 4 chairs, and the beds. Uncle Henry and Aunt Em had a big bed in one corner and Dorothy a little bed in another corner. Sounds like they had a very small studio, and efficient, they call that. I actually live in a studio, but it's a large studio. I have my own separate doorway to the kitchen, and it's a full-size heating kitchen. Can you believe that? Look at me, okay? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, they're telling us about their efficient studio that 3 people are living in. God help them. There was no garret at all, and no cellar except a small hole dug in the ground called a cyclone cellar, where the family could go in case one of those great whirlwinds arose, mighty enough to crush any building in its path. It was reached by a trapdoor in the middle of the floor, from which a ladder led down into the small dark hole. When Dorothy stood in the doorway and looked around, she could see nothing but the great gray prairie on every side. Not a tree, nor a house broke the broad sweep of flat country that reached to the edge of the sky in all directions. The sun had baked the plowed land into a gray mass, with little cracks running through it. Even the grass was not green, for the sun had burned the tops of the long blades until they were the same gray color to be seen everywhere. Once the house had been painted, but the sun blistered the paint and the rains washed it away, and now the house was as dull and gray as everything else. So what I'm getting from this is everything is gray, okay? I've never been to Kansas, but I hear it's a beautiful state, and I can't shit on Kansas because I don't know it. But the point is this, L. Frank Baum is not painting a very pretty picture of the gray life of Dorothy. Poor Dorothy's living in the grayness of life. But that's what we've inferred from. This is what we've gotten from this. Everything is gray. When Aunt Em came there to live, she was a young, pretty wife. The sun and wind had changed her too. They had taken the sparkle from her eyes and left them a sober gray. They had taken the red from her cheeks and lips, and they were gray also. How are lips gray? What, is she dying? You usually have blue lips when you're dying. But anyway, I digress. She was thin and gaunt and never smiled now. When Dorothy, who was an orphan, first came to her, Aunt Em had been so startled by the child's laughter that she would scream and press her hand upon her heart whenever Dorothy's merry voice reached her ears. And she still looked at the little girl with wonder that she could find anything to laugh at. Poor Auntie Em. She's let the gray Kansas prairie get it down. Oh, that's going to be fodder. Don't worry, we're going to talk about that. Poor Aunt Em. Uncle Henry never laughed. He worked hard from morning till night and did not know what joy was. He was gray also, from his long beard to his rough boots, and he looked stern and solemn and rarely spoke. I wonder if this was an arranged marriage. I mean, why would she marry a man who has no joy and all he does is work? I mean, is this an arranged marriage? I mean, obviously, we're not going to go into the exposition in the background, but I feel badly for Aunt Em because she was once a young girl that was all pert and happy, and now she's gray like everything else. It was Toto that made Dorothy laugh and saved her from growing as gray as her other surroundings. Toto was not gray. He was a little black dog with long silky hair and small black eyes that twinkled merrily on either side of his funny wee nose. Toto played all day long, and Dorothy played with him and loved him dearly. Today, however, they were not playing. Uncle Henry sat upon the doorstep and looked anxiously at the sky, which was even grayer than usual. Geez Louise, how many times have I said the word gray? We get it, everything is fucking gray. I gavolt. Dorothy stood in the door with Toto in her arms and looked at the sky too. Aunt Em was washing the dishes. Of course she was washing the dishes. Here we go again. She's just another Wendy. From the far north they heard a low wail of the wind. And Uncle Henry and Dorothy could see where the long grass bowed in waves before the coming storm. There now came a sharp whistling in the air from the south. And as they turned their eyes that way, they saw ripples in the grass coming from that direction also. Ooh, Nelly. Suddenly, Uncle Henry stood up. There's a cyclone coming, Em, he called to his wife. I'll go look after the stock. Then he ran toward the sheds where the cows and the horses were kept. Aunt Em dropped her work and came to the door. One glance told her of the danger close at hand. Quick, Dorothy, she screamed. Run for the cellar. Toto jumped out of Dorothy's arms and hid under the bed, and the girls started to get him. Aunt Anne, badly frightened, threw open the trap door on the floor and climbed down the ladder into the small, dark hole. Dorothy caught Toto at last and started to follow her aunt. When she was halfway across the room, there came a great shriek from the wind, and the house shook so hard that she lost her footing and sat down suddenly upon the floor. Then a strange thing happened. The house whirled around 2 or 3 times and rose slowly through the air. Dorothy felt as if she were going up in a balloon. Oh my God, what is going on? Dorothy is being spun around, spun around, spun around the house, the house, the house. All right. The north and south winds met where the house stood and made it the exact center of the cyclone. In the middle of a cyclone, the air is generally still, but the great pressure of the wind on every side of the house raised it up higher and higher until it was at the very top of the cyclone, and there it remained and was carried miles and miles away as easily as you could carry a feather. It was very dark, and the wind howled horribly around her, but Dorothy found she was riding quite easily. Hello, she was riding the waves, you know what I'm saying? After the first few whirls around, and one other time when the house tipped badly, she felt as if she were being rocked gently, like a baby in a cradle. Toto did not like it. He ran about the room, now here, now there, barking loudly, but Dorothy sat quite still on the floor and waited to see what would happen. Once Toto got too near the open trap door and fell in, and at first the little girl thought she had lost him, but soon she saw one of his ears sticking up through the hole, for the strong pressure of the air was keeping him up so that he could not fall. What the hell is that? So I guess he was spinning round and round, and then she just grabs him. Let's see. She crept to the hole, caught Toto by the ear, and dragged him into the room again, afterward closing the trap door so that no more accidents could happen. Look at that. She's good with little Toto. Oh, I love Toto in the movie. In the movie, he looks like he's gray, though. He doesn't look like he's black and shiny. I think it's called a Karen Terrier. That's the kind of dog Toto is in the movie. Hour after hour passed away, and slowly Dorothy got over her fright. But she felt quite lonely, and the wind shrieked so loudly all about her that she nearly became deaf. At first, she had wondered if she would be dashed to pieces when the house fell again. But as the hours passed and nothing terrible happened, she stopped worrying and resolved to wait calmly and see what the future would bring. Well, that's a smart thing. She's staying cool, calm, and collected as the house has been spun around and around and around. I'm surprised she didn't get nauseous and puke. I would have. I have that kind of thing. At last, she crawled over the swaying floor to her bed and lay down upon it, taking a nap. And Toto followed and lay down beside her. In spite of the swaying of the house and the wailing of the wind, Dorothy soon closed her eyes and fell fast asleep. That's a girl after my own heart. I love taking naps. But I guess they said she's being rocked by a cradle. That's right. She's not being spun. Okay. That was a very short chapter. I mean, you can see it was very short. But I think we can glean a lot from it. Well, the one thing I think we're going to glean is the fact that, well, first off, Dorothy is once again a little brave girl. Here she's hanging out and she decides to take a nap on the bed. The question is this. I thought she's down in the cellar and there's no bed. Okay, I'm asking questions that maybe I shouldn't be asking. We're going to suspend reality because I forget. These are whimsical stories, but I digress. Okay, what's up with the deal that everything is great? That's fine. The surroundings are great. But they talk about Aunt Em, who had once been this young girl who had red cheeks and red lips or whatever, and now everything's gray, and she's thin and gaunt, and she no longer smiles, and she's gray just like Uncle Henry. So what I want to think about, what I think about from that is, Aunt Em has let her surroundings determine how she's become. Now, what do I mean by that? We have discussed this. Aunt Em came there probably with full of hope and love and all that great stuff. And Uncle Henry, I guess he's a drip and he's more than gray. He's just he's a dullard. Anyway, instead of keeping her vivacious personality, and even if she wasn't vivacious, but you know, the feeling of who she was, she decided to blend right in like everything else and adapt to her surroundings so much that she lost everything of Aunt Em. Now, when in your life have you done that? That's the question. We have talked about never dulling your shine. And sometimes we do this because we are fearful that we are too much for people. I've talked about this because all my life I dulled my shine when I was younger, because especially I thought I was too much because I kind of was bullied. I talked about that too. We don't need to go into details. The thing is this. We each came here with a unique trait, something that's different about us. There ain't no two alike. Even if you got two twins, right? Those, what do you call those twins? Identical twins. Hello, Rosie. Identical is the word. They're not exactly the same. We all got our own quirk, talents, abilities, what have you. But what happens for a lot of us, we sometimes dull who we are or take something away because we feel uncomfortable because we think it's making other people feel uncomfortable. And you know what, my friends? You don't have to worry about making other people uncomfortable because that's on them if they're uncomfortable. You came here to be your best, shiniest self. And that means being true to who you are, representing your most authentic self. Now, when I say be shiny, I don't mean being somebody else's shiny, being your shiny. Because the way you shine doesn't mean you have to be like me, so gregarious and like, oh, such an extrovert. Even though I'm an introvert, that's a different story. But you can still shine in the way of your intelligence, conversations, whatever you bring to the world, your knowledge, whatever have you it is, and not dull it. So it's like you go to a party, right? And you walk in and you're talking to people and you're feeling yourself. You know when you're feeling yourself. You're feeling yourself. And you're like, I'm feeling myself. I'm wearing a great outfit. My hair looks great. Oh yeah, I got a new hairdo. I love it. I'm like Joan Jett. I'm feeling myself. I'm feeling good. This is pretty damn good. And you're in the mode and you're feeling your mojo and you're talking to people and then you see somebody look at you and you look at them and you think they're giving you the stink eye. Maybe they are and maybe they're not. The point is though, you suddenly get that stink eye and then you're like, oh shit, am I just being too much? Like what's going on? You suddenly become self-conscious. Trust me, we've all been there. We've all been there. It's like when you have a conversation with somebody and you think they wipe their nose because they have an itch, but you think they're trying to tell you got a booger, so you wipe your nose too, and you itch, and then you go back and forth, and you're both itching each other's like your noses, but it's because you both think you're giving the sign that you got a friggin' booger when it was just because the one person in front of you had a friggin' itchy nose. But I digress. Point is this, we've all felt self-conscious or, embarrassed and thought like, oh my God, I think I'm just being too much. What's the deal here? And then we suddenly shrink like a flower. We just shrink and go into a little shell. And then we're not authentic selves. And then all of a sudden we find after we leave the party or wherever we were, we hated the experience. We're like, ugh, that was so uncomfortable. So what I want to encourage you to think about is the times when you have done that. You've shrunk to fit other people, to make other people feel less uncomfortable. Or when you just are your most authentic self, which I hope you always are, and how the night has turned out or the day has turned out. Now, doesn't mean you can't adapt to your surroundings, okay? When you go to a party and if it's business related or something very professional, obviously you're not going to act like an ass. You're going to be yourself though. You just got to curtail the kind of conversations you're having, and that's just discernment. I think we know that. But what I'm talking about is your essence, who you truly are. You don't have to be dancing on the tables to show I'm a shiny, bright person. My point is just being who you are and not taking on other people's fears or uncomfortableness as your own. Remember, the only way we grow, we've talked about this, is being uncomfortable. So if somebody is uncomfortable around you, let me tell you something. That's work they got to do on themselves. And I've said this before, and I've probably said it twice. I'm going to say it for the third time because the third is a charm. When they say the third time's a charm, what you think about me is none of my business. Same thing. So if somebody wants to give you the stink eye, or maybe you're thinking they're giving you the stink eye, it's none of your business. Move on, my friends. So I just want to encourage you to think about how you act sometimes when you feel uncomfortable and the fact that you think you're like, oh no, I'm too much. You're never too much. As long as you're being your authentic, bright, shiny self, like you're staying with who you are and being true to yourself, it's never too much. And don't let your mind and your ego tell you otherwise. Because what happens when we get in the flow of our spirit and, our most authentic selves, then we get in a fear place. We get into our ego and like, oh my God, what's going on? Is this person not liking me? Are they giving me a weird look? And suddenly we become paranoid, or we got this fear, worry, and doubt. Like, oh my God, is this a bad thing I'm doing? And that's not where you want to go. Think about also the times, like I said, when you are your most authentic self, sometimes you go somewhere and you don't even know anybody, right? I love these kind of instances. You go with a friend and they're like, I want you to come along. I love all these people and you're going to have a good time. And if not, just, whatever. And your friend goes off to talk to other people. And all of a sudden, you just start bouncing around. You're in, you're feeling yourself. You're doing okay. People start walking up to you. You walk up to people. And you start having great conversations. By the end of the night, by the end of the day, whatever, you've made new friendships. You've made new contacts. You've made a network. And all of a sudden, you're like, damn, I'm glad I went. Because all you did was like, I don't give a shit. I'm just going to be me because I don't know anybody anyway. So I don't give a shit what they think about me. And you know what? You end up attracting something even greater than you would have thought or would have gotten if you weren't your most authentic self. That's a lot. I am like on a tear today, aren't I? So with that being said, I don't know if you're journaling. You don't have to journal, but if you want to journal about it, fine. If not, just think about it. Just know that even when you're feeling uncomfortable, it is still an opportunity for you to grow. So address the next time you go out and you're feeling like everybody's eyes on me, eyes on me. Don't go into that place of fear, worry, doubt, and paranoia. Just own who you are. Continue to be the bright light you are and move along. That's what you came here to do, my friends, to shine your light. I say this all the time, and I'm going to keep saying it. I don't care. I'm going to keep saying it until you get it. So the memo is this. Don't dull your sparkle, all right? And don't become gray like Aunt Em. Thank God for Dorothy and Toto. Because if they didn't have them, I think Aunt Em would just be like, I'm out of here. Maybe she wants to pack her bags and leave, but she doesn't have enough self-worth to be like, oh, Uncle Henry, you just suck. And she's living in one room anyway. I don't know what the hell's going on there. But you know what? That's a whole nother ball of wax. We ain't even going to get into that. Anyway, my friends, you stay beautiful. You are worthy. You are enough. And I send you lots of light and love. And until the next time, adieu. Adieu to you and you and you. Adieu, da 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 da. Adieu to you and you and you. Love the sound of music. I'm sure I've said that before, and if I haven't, now you know. Okay.